Hey everyone, welcome to the Above the Yellow Line live stream. It's Thursday night, so of course we're back at it with you, talking about NASCAR and a lot more tonight for the show. So very excited about that. Of course, was able to go to Bristol this past week. I should probably move my microphone too. There we go. And it was such a cool experience. I'm definitely going to talk about it later. Ben was with me, and it was just awesome. Cool to be in the PRN booth. Good to see you all in the chat as well. Um, Jacques, good to see you. Adam, good to see you. Drive for Diabetes Awareness in the chat. We're going to talk a lot more about that later in the show, or I guess in a few minutes, I should say. We have a special guest, Lacy Kuehl, joining us in a few. So as everyone's rolling in, appreciate seeing you all. Again, if you have any questions for Lacy, put them in the chat, and we'll go from there. So again, very excited to have you all here. We'll talk about Bristol, some NASCAR news. Matt DiBenedetto found a ride, so we'll talk about that. Something about junior motorsports. I mean, there's so much to discuss today. And then, of course, we will preview Circuit of the Americas. A lot of interesting, I shouldn't say interesting, but a lot of cool drivers that are going to be joining this week's roster across the board. So very excited for that. Another year at Circuit of the Americas for NASCAR. So looking forward to it. First road course of the year to really see how that new short track package kind of lines up. Short track road course package. So should be pretty good. We'll have Dom's projected top 10 that he will go through as well. This week's I'm pretty excited about. We have some new names in the mix as opposed to previous. Obviously, we have some of our road course ringers in there too. And then also seeing SVG in the 16 while AJ Allmendinger is in the 13 this weekend. So should be pretty exciting. Again, Adam, good to see you in the chat. Great to see you in the chat. I feel like it's time to bring in our special guest. Let's bring in right now Lacy Kuehl.
Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Doing good. Thank you for having me, Taylor. I'm so excited.
You're welcome. Great to have you here. And also, I love the setup. I
Aw,
adore that.
thank
That's awesome.
It's not my setup. I'm personally right now, I'm in Michigan. I absolutely love the setup. We got this ready in just like 30 minutes. It's one of our great guys, John, who helps out with Digital Brothers Creative Studios. So they're letting me borrow it for now. I absolutely love it. This is like tech galore for me. Like I used to stream and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah, that's awesome. You said you used to stream. So, like, what did you stream?
I used to stream iRacing on Twitch.
Oh, sweet. Love that. So, iRacing, was that fundamental in like starting your career out? Is that how you got your start, or where did that love of racing come from?
So the love of racing came from after my little brother Rocco passed away from type 1 diabetes. They said he had the flu and to go home 3 times and unfortunately passed away from diabetic ketoacidosis. The doctors treated him wrong. And unfortunately, he's not here with us today. But we were invited to a diabetic charity event with JDRF, and we ended up meeting a diabetic race car driver, and my dad was invited to Daytona. He ended up wanting to start racing, and we went to our local racetrack like 6 weekends in a row, and I had the force in the last week. Mind you, I was like 6 years old. Um, and we ended up meeting this girl, Brooke Store, and she was selling go-karts, and she's like, "Yeah," like, I was 6. I was like, "She can get into go-karts?" I'm like, "Well, Dad, I wanna race." So that's how it kind of all stemmed, and iRacing has just been my dad's always been on iRacing, and he's the one who really got me into iRacing, and it's really helped me with my hand-eye coordination and training off the track.
Yeah, there's a lot of training off track. I don't know if people realize it, but it's, I mean, hand-eye coordination, a lot of strength training, cardio. So what is like training like for you? How often are you like, I don't know if you go to the gym, like how many hours do you put into not just being behind the wheel, but off the track training?
So off the track training, it's constant. I mean, going on iRacing, going to the gym, it's very grueling in the race car. So you always got to be in the gym, working up your upper body, and also mentally preparing yourself. Racing is very mental, being focused. Focus is a very fundamental part, which iRacing can help you with because you're going to be focused on what you're doing. So
Yeah, the focus thing is key. I struggle with focus sometimes, and I'm like, I would never be a good race car driver because focusing for that long, I can't do it. So props to all the race car drivers out there for the focus. Something that really drew me to you is you had a really incredible experience last year in a dog sled race. It was like a 150
Yep.
mile Alaskan sled dog race. It took place over 2 days. Your lead dog received, it was the Blue Harness Award, helped you out during a medical emergency there. Like, that's insane. Harsh conditions. To talk about that, like, how did that even start?
So that all started when my dad was talking to a guy named Tyron Torkelson with the Torque Memorial Foundation. He races legend cars out at the only NASCAR sanctioned track in Alaska called Alaska Raceway Park. And they were talking, we're like, wow, that track is absolutely beautiful. Like, we need a race there with like the big Pioneer Mountain and like the very back of turn 3 and 4. So we were like, oh, we might just drive and bring the race car out there like 3,000, 4,000 miles away, all the way from Florida. And
No big deal.
yeah, I know, right? It's nothing. But Tyron ended up putting out a post on Facebook saying, like, hey, let's get this female driver from Florida out to Alaska and get her in a car racing out here with us. And next thing you know, within a week, we had rental cars, Airbnbs, plane flights, and a
Wow.
race car.
That's
So
insane.
I know, and they ended up wrapping the car exactly like what I have in Florida, and I went out there, and you never guess what happened. It ended up getting rained out.
Of course.
Yep, it got rained out, and we tried the next weekend. We got rained out again. August is the really big rainy season for Alaska. Um, so then a fellow racer and competitor, Nicholas Petit, who's also a Iditarod musher, he owns a dog stead and he invited everybody to go mushing. And I ended up saying, yeah, sure. I have no idea what this is, but I'm going to go out there and see what it is. And I absolutely fell in love with the dogs. I'm a dog lover. I have my own German
Same.
Shepherd at home.
I love
Um,
that.
and now I have an Alaskan Husky puppy at home.
Oh my
but
god.
but beside the point, I was there for 3 days straight helping him, work with the dogs and picking up their poop and feeding them, and he asked me to be a junior musher for him, and I'm like, "Sure,"
Yeah.
not really knowing what I'm getting into, and, it all just stemmed from there, and I was there in, January training, and this all happened in August.
Oh my gosh. So, is there anything I mean, I doubt there's a lot that you can translate from that racing to what you're doing right now behind the wheel, but did anything that you did behind the wheel prepare you for this?
Yes, mentally.
Mentally.
So when you're out on the trail, you're like, it's Alaska. There's nothing out there. There's trees or snow. You're gonna see a lot of the same things for a while, especially in the dark. You only have like 5 hours of daylight.
Oh, yeah.
So you're out there with a headlamp and you're on these trails, and it really messes with your head when you're out there by yourself. So it's just staying focused, keeping your mind clear, really watching your dogs, and continuing moving forward.
Yeah, it's gosh, that's incredible. Also, as a dog lover myself, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that'd be, like, a really cool experience." Do you plan to do that again at all, or was it,
if
like, a
I
one and done?
So, I can't run the junior Iditarod again because I'll be 18 in July, but I can run, like, another 100-mile race, 150, 200-mile race, but that's if I get the opportunity to do it. 100% I'd do it again. I absolutely loved it, and it was a great learning experience for me, just sleeping out in Alaska in, like, 10 degrees in a sleeping bag with my dogs. Like, who would have thought I'd be doing that as a race car driver at the age of, like, when I at the time, I was 16. So,
Wow.
like, you never know what's gonna happen. Like, if it rains on your parade, like, it can blossom into something absolutely amazing, and you'll never know it.
I love that. No, for sure, it's you never know, like, take up every opportunity you can because you never know what it's gonna turn into, and that's a perfect example of that for
Mhm.
sure.
Exactly.
And would you say, like I feel like as a race car driver, you travel a lot. I mean, you're in Michigan right now, you're a Florida native. What do you think is Alaska the best place you've ever traveled to, like, the most beautiful place you traveled to, or
I would 100% say yes. If you have
yeah?
not been to Alaska, go to Alaska.
Mm,
I don't go on a cruise. You might see a couple of things. If you actually go out and you go into the community and you go down to see the Knik Glacier and you see Pioneer Mountain on the racetrack, and just the community in itself, it's beautiful wherever you go. Like down the Denali Highway, you just have mountains upon mountains, and it's just the most breathtaking views you'll ever see. I've never seen anything like it before, and the fact that I got to be there for, like, 2, 3 months just experiencing all this was
wow.
absolutely amazing. I got to see the Northern Lights, I experienced an earthquake, I flew in a helicopter, I flew in a prop plane, and I got to see all this stuff. It was absolutely amazing.
I mean, that sounds like the adventure of a lifetime, so now I'm gonna add that to my bucket list to go to
Yeah.
Alaska. Writing that down. Earlier, when we started talking, you mentioned your brother Rocco and, your initiative with, the for your diabetes initiative and everything like that. Can you talk a little bit about, Drive for Diabetes and what you're doing there and the awareness that you're raising?
Yeah, so We founded our charity Drive for Diabetes Awareness after Rocco passed away. And we did that as a platform to use racing to help spread the awareness and the symptoms of diabetes so that no other family has to go through what mine did. It could have been prevented like that if we would have known. And diabetes isn't well known. Most people make it as like a joke, right? Saying like McDonald's or something. It doesn't stem from that. Um,
Mhm.
but it's like just helping people. It's like we do this philanthropically. It's a 501(c) charity and just saving lives as well as racing and doing what I love. It's just the best thing I could ever ask for, especially doing it in memory of my little brother.
And I think it's so great. And with anybody who has a platform, I always love to say use your platform for good. I'm a big advocate of the chronic illness community. I have a chronic illness myself, and I try to use that for good. And just seeing what you're able to do with your platform and even combining racing with something as strong as this, spreading awareness, spreading that message is awesome. So I love that you're doing this. If anyone wants to help support what you're doing, how can they help support that?
So they can go to our website. It'll be drivefordiabetesawareness.org. That's where they can get all the information. They can go to our Facebook page. Honestly, just sharing the symptoms and even a post can help save lives. It can help a family member, it can help a friend. As long as they have that knowledge, it will definitely help. And we like a lot of the stuff we do, we use our own money for it. So we do have a donation page on the charity, which helps pay for the brochures, the merchandise that we give out to fans at the racetracks when I go into the stands and talk to the little kids. So that is another way that you guys can help us. But I don't want anybody to feel like inclined to do that. Just sharing a post is the most amazing thing and would mean the world to the charity.
Yeah, sharing social media. Everyone make sure to go to the website. I'll make sure to link it in the description following this live. But talking about social media and talking about even to like your adventures to Alaska and everything. I saw on your Instagram that you were able to go to Daytona. Got to hang
Yes.
out with around the number 48. How was that for you? Just kind of being in that whole atmosphere.
Oh, that was absolutely amazing. I love going to different NASCAR tracks and seeing what they're like. I've been to way too many to count over the past 10 years of racing. But Daytona's always been a fundamental point in my racing career in my life because I've gone there for years upon years being from the state of Florida. Um, but being at a NASCAR race, I get to network myself as a driver and try to help myself while I'm out there with those connections because there's absolutely amazing people in the motorsports community that go to Daytona.
And when you say like networking yourself at the track, just I know a lot of other up and coming drivers are like, how do I network myself? How do I get myself out there? Especially if I have the opportunity to go to the track. What does that look like for you? Are you handing out resumes? Are you shaking hands? Like, what does that look like for you when you're at the track trying to get yourself out there?
So I basically what I normally do is I just talk to my contacts, keep in contact with them, and then go up to just influential people and just start talking to them and just like normally I know like about them and I like start a conversation and then it just normally goes to something else. But definitely network yourself and get yourself out there is like the best thing to do with just getting people to know your name or your face. But yeah.
And then the other thing I want to mention too, it's Women's History Month, and just talking about being, a woman in motorsports. And you talked about, talking to like the kids at the track about, spreading diabetes awareness. And, from your perspective, I feel like we often hear about women at the top level of the sport.
Mhm.
We don't hear about the perspective a lot of women who are trying to break through to get to the top levels. So, from your perspective, what has it been like, being a female, being a woman in racing? And, has there been any barriers you have to cross to get to where you are? Or do you feel like, what is that atmosphere like for you?
So personally, I don't think of myself as anything different. I'm just in a racetrack. I'm in a helmet. I'm
I
racing.
love it.
I know other people, they're going to think differently and it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I know people go to the racetrack to try to beat me sometimes and it's happened before and they didn't and they got mad. But I don't really and personally, I don't have any thought about it. I don't care. I'm just there racing. I'm just another car on the racetrack. But people have other opinions on that and I can't change that. That's not my fault. So personally, I don't have any opinions on it. I don't care.
No, I
That's just my
love that.
attitude. Yes. Like I'm just on the racetrack. I'm another driver. I mean, everybody says women in motorsports. I mean, I think there should be a ton more women in motorsports, and it's just not put out there for them. But I feel like seeing more women get towards the top tier and even like in the lower tiers, I feel like they should be promoted more, and it will help bring the younger generation of females into there, which is another thing I'm big on, is talking to the kids. The youth are the generation of motorsports. If we don't get to the youth, you're not going to have future NASCAR drivers.
Right.
So I'm always talking to the kids, even the little girls. I was just talking to middle school students today, sixth graders, and I had all these little girls come up to me and they're like, "You're so inspirational. We want to be a musher. I had a girl message me and she's like, I want to start racing. How do I get into it?" And that's where my part as a driver who's trying to make it in there. It doesn't matter if I'm at the top tier. I'm still going to try to help them get into it the best of my abilities with my knowledge, for them to start racing. I'll give them the best tips that I can.
I love that. I know they say, like, gatekeeping girl boss is, like, what the one phrases I'm like, I love the internet, but, like, no. But, like, being able to, spread the, "Hey, if you wanna get into racing, like, I'm gonna help out. I'm gonna tell you the path," and, that's awesome that you're able to, talk to young up-and-coming drivers or people that wanna be in the sport, and kinda give them guidance there. But I love that answer of, "I'm just another racer.
Yep.
I put my helmet on the same as you." No, I love that response. That's awesome. Um, I wanna get to some questions we had in the comments. Um, let's see. Nick said, "What kind of music do you enjoy? Country, pop music? What do you listen to?"
I normally listen to a lot of country. I like
I love it.
Coetzel, Morgan Wallen. Those are kind of my top tiers right now. Big Coetzel fan. Zach Bryan. Yeah, that's my go-to. But I also listen to rock, like AC/DC. I listen to it all. I don't really have a specific genre of music I listen to. I'm into a lot of stuff.
Honestly, same. I'm like, we probably have the same playlist because I love country, rock, maybe some indie pop, whatever. No,
Yeah.
good answer. um, John asks, which track do you want to attend that you haven't attended yet? I'll add to that too.
Hmm.
What track do you want to race at that you haven't yet?
Oh, race at? Oh my gosh. I wanna race at COTA. I absolutely love road course, and I feel like I haven't done enough of it in my racing career, and COTA is an absolutely unbelievable track. COTA would be so cool to race at, and even go to.
Yeah.
For me to attend, oh my gosh, I wanna go to, this is a very hard question.
It's tough because there's so many
I know,
great
'cause
tracks.
I've been to Bristol, I've been to Daytona, I've been to Richmond. I've been to Atlanta. What track haven't I gone to? I wanna go to Kansas. I remember saying this before. I used to always race Kansas on iRacing, and I was so good at it, and I would always tell my dad, I was like, "I wanna go to Kansas just to see the track in person."
Kansas, I mean, with the races, especially the Cup Series has put on the past few years with the Gen 7 car, it is
Yes.
one that you absolutely have to go to. I gotta get
Yes.
myself out there too, for sure. For sure. Trying to think, what do you have coming up on your schedule racing-wise? Where can we kinda keep up with you there?
Yeah, so coming up, I don't have anything too big planned. I will most likely be testing in a late model sometime soon and then have a late model race. That's
Ooh.
being put into the works. And then I'm racing in Alaska in August. We still have some more planning to do for the rest of the year, but we have a lot of off-track events, talking to school kids like I were today. I have a lot of events like that. So if you want to keep up with that, we have Drive for Diabetes Awareness on Facebook. I have my own Facebook page, and all my social handles are driver Lacy Kuehl. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, Lacey, it was so nice to talk to you. Definitely keep in touch. We'd love to have you on the show again in the future and just keep us updated.
Oh, thank you. And then also, I do want to say one thing.
Go for it.
Tyron Torkelson, the guy who helped me get to Alaska, and I wouldn't have done any of this without his help. His grandson currently just got into an accident. They were cutting down a tree, and the tree ended up turning around and falling on him.
Oh,
So
wow.
Paxton has currently been in the hospital for about a week now, and I just want everybody to go out there, check on Facebook. I shared the post. It'll have the GoFundMe on there to help him, and it'll also say more on the information on Paxton. But everybody, prayers for Paxton. Just keep him in our minds and just hope he gets through everything. So yeah, go check that out and go. Just even sharing the post will help so much.
Yeah, prayers for Paxton. I'll make sure to share the post in the description so everyone can go check that out. Also, you had a great documentary that was made about your time in Alaska as well. I had a chance to watch most of it, and it was awesome. So I have so many links in the description, but it's awesome. I'm so happy to be sharing all of this. But Lacy, thank you so much again for joining me on Above the Yellow Line, and keep us up to date on everything in
Well,
the future.
thank you so much, Taylor, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thanks, Lacy.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, that was Lacy Kuehl. I would say I hate to make the pun. She's pretty cool, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna make a really awful pun, but no, awesome to have Lacy join the show. Now we're gonna transition to talking more about the Cup Series, NASCAR, Xfinity Truck, everything in between. We got to recap Bristol, look at NASCAR news, and jump ahead to Circuit of the Americas. And I can't do it alone. You all know I have to bring in the guys. I got to bring in Ben, got to bring in Dom. Hello.
Whoa!
Hello!
What a wave. It was like you were like 50-50 on that. Oh, and then we have the princess wave. I love it.
Princess
Or like the royal wave. I'll call it a royal wave. I love that. Yeah. Good to see you all. Ben and I were at Bristol. So Ben, do you want to kind of talk about that experience, everything you saw at Bristol? And
Sure, I'll go first.
yeah.
Taylor's probably sick of seeing and hearing my voice
Oh,
after this
Ben.
past weekend and today. It was great. It was a great time. Truly, Bristol is such a cool environment, a cool track, and genuinely the highlight for me was when we went through the gate and it was your first time, and you were like, I want to go walk up and look at it, and I was like, it's gonna blow our mind. And you hit like the concourse, or not the concourse area, but the steps, like looking over it, and you turned around and the smile on your face, I'll never forget that, because it was straight up ear to ear. Like, it was the greatest smile, and I was like, she loves it, she's in love with it already. And just, it was a cool event, great time. The race was very chaotic itself, but I loved it from the stands. I think everyone around me from the stands loved it too. I know I talked to several fans after the race, and they were just like, we didn't know what was going on, but we were having a great time. So
Yeah.
I think that's a sign of a good race, no matter what the product is, as long as the fans are happy. I qualify that as a victory at the end of the day. But great time, very cool atmosphere. It really makes me want to go back for the night race in the fall.
Yeah. I would love to go back in the fall. Like, if I have to like scrounge up funds however I can just to go in the fall, I will. I mean, that was such a cool track, and I will tell you, Ben, like, I wanted to cry. Like, as soon as I got into the track and I saw it, like, it was like almost tears of joy for me. One, to be back at the track, but two, I've been told about Bristol since I started in the sport. My grandparents used to go there all the time, and then they were like, oh, the hill's a bit too much to walk up for us to get to our seats, so we just have to stop. But no, such a cool track. And then like the tire wear, like seeing that in person and seeing it from every single turn. We weren't relying on the broadcast to see everything. Like, we saw if someone was falling off in turn 1, we also saw somebody fall off in turn 4. And it was like, it was insane. So I don't know, Dom, from the broadcast perspective, what were your thoughts on Bristol and kind of what you saw from that angle?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is you guys at the race are just relying on the race to tell the story. You can't hear what the broadcast is telling us about the tires and what all the crews are saying about the tires. You're just watching the race unfold, and wow, these guys are going a lot slower, and that outside groove is covered in marbles.
Yeah.
This is different. But I'm loving the outpouring support for Goodyear and saying, don't be upset about this, because this was awesome.
It was a win.
Yeah, this was an incredible race for all the reasons they didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just awesome to see how, as soon as it got really, really bad, we saw the best race car drivers and the best crew and crew chiefs, engineers, making last minute decisions on how are we going to win this race? How are we going to last in this race? That's what really made it interesting. And like Denny Hamlin said in his post-race press conference, that was the first time the driver had a lot to do with the victory in a long, long time. And that was just something that we haven't had in a while. And it was really refreshing to see things kind of go haywire, and everyone had to adjust, and it turned into a great show. It could have gone Brickyard 400 2008 on us, but it didn't. And that's a good thing.
And that's why I love this race, is because you really had to take care of your equipment. You had to manage your tires. It was the best racer wins, not the best equipment. It was who can save tire until the very end. And you saw drivers that maybe had a chance and then didn't. So it really did. It was a race more so for the veterans. I mean, you saw Martin Truex Jr. shine at the end. I'm very sorry, Ben, for that whole situation. Yeah, that hurt. So, but Denny Hamlin, seeing him win in person was like awesome. I've seen him win in person twice now. So I don't know. Maybe I'm Denny's good luck charm. Who knows? But
I've seen him
great
win
race.
twice at Bristol in person. So,
oh man, well,
he ran 2012 and he won this year.
That's true.
I think it's 3 for me now. No, 4. I think I've seen him win 4 times.
Okay, then you're truly his good luck charm.
16 Daytona 500, MIS Xfinity in 17, the 622, and then Kansas last year. So, yeah.
You're
Nice.
Denny's biggest fan then.
Me and Denny got
That's
a rose.
So, I mean, now is Bristol. I'll bring up our point standings in case you all are wanting to keep track. I'm still in the lead, but not by much. Ben's on the way. So this is just like last year, Ben. This is just it's coming into that. It's turning into that.
It's okay. I'll spend 2 weeks in the hospital again, and then I'll come back and win the title again somehow.
Listen,
Oh.
while I was watching this race, towards the very end, I'm like, man, Keselowski's in a good spot. Keselowski's in third, and I was
Yep.
like, who did everyone else pick? Look, oh great, someone picked Truex and someone picked Denny.
Yeah.
I can't win.
That's
Yeah,
how
I
I was
had a
like, I'm
bad
gonna do great
weekend.
tricks. Nope. Got
Yeah.
beat, so.
I would have been
And
fine with the Truex win, even though it didn't help me. I mean, I picked Byron, and we all know what happened to Byron early on. So,
And again, the stats I pulled last week, it was a dead tie between Denny and Brad, but because Brad won the spring race twice, I gave him the tiebreaker. But the stat sheet was going alphabetically, so Hamlin was listed first. I was like, I should have listened. I should have listened to the stat sheet.
That's okay.
Should have listened.
Maybe this week when we preview COTA, whoever your pick is, it'll work out this week.
Perhaps.
We'll see. But
also, I'm not liking the trends for myself this year.
No, the trends, I mean, let's go back to the points for a second. Yeah, so you're negative 27. You made up some ground from the
I'm not negative 27. I'm 27 points back, all right?
Well, that's fair. Let's 27 points back from the lead, I should
glass
say.
half full.
Yeah, glass half full. So, yeah, so maybe not as well as last season, but you know what? There is still time. The stats will work out. It'll all be okay.
That's not a big hill to climb. 27.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think Rob and Toby has some catching up to do. So I know Toby turned in his race picks for this week. So
because I told him to.
Oh, you did?
I called him on Discord and I was like, hey, make sure you do this, man.
Toby will be a competitor this week. I know Rob and Toby have 2 strikes, 3 strikes, and you're not eligible for the championship. I forget our rules, but we have rules
from the playoffs.
Yeah, eliminated from the playoffs. So we might need a refresher on the rules from Adam when he joins us next time. But this is the point situation, by the way. Obviously with the win. Oh, this isn't updated. That's a shame. Well, if you see the newsletter from this week, if you sign up for the newsletter, of course, make sure to subscribe to that and you'll see the updated points. But Denny Hamlin with the point standings, I'll see if I can pull up my graphic from social media as well. But we will move on to talk about NASCAR news as I find that graphic. My apologies. And first piece of NASCAR news, let's talk about Matt Benedetto running the number 38 for Viking Motorsports in the Xfinity Series at Richmond. It's owned by Dan Sackett, CEO of SciApps. They started the season with CJ McLaughlin, who failed to qualify in. So they're like, we need to make a change. Matt's our guy. Last time Matt ran in Xfinity was, I believe, 2019 with Joe Gibbs Racing. So what are our thoughts about this? About, Matt DiBenedetto kind of returning to racing here, not in the truck series, but on the Xfinity Series level.
Go ahead, Ben.
I think it's a step in the right direction for him in his career. We all can acknowledge that. I feel like we all can acknowledge that he is trying to rebuild now his career. He's been, I don't want to say left for dead, but he's been left without a ride and kind of left without an opportunity for a little bit now. And I feel like this is a good opportunity. We've seen guys in the Xfinity Series do this. My mind immediately goes to Brett Moffitt. When he signed with Our Motorsports after kind of a weird exit from the truck series a couple of years ago with GMS. And he signs with I guess at the time you could call them a back marker Xfinity team and kind of took them to a pretty high. And I feel like De Benedetto's kind of the guy that can do that for this team. Essentially, and this is me assuming, essentially this team is buying stuff from Sieg and Ryan Sieg's team because it's the 38 car, which is the same number font as the 39 and the 28 and whatever other numbers that Sieg has run. It's also a Ford car as well. So it sounds like it's kind of a satellite deal altogether. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Something I want to acknowledge, and we talked about it a little bit off stream last night, was at some point we do need to acknowledge that while he isn't the most popular person in the garage or in the NASCAR universe, he is a little bit of a wheelman. We've seen him he's
Yeah.
ran better in the 25 truck than what Ty Dillon has ran so far this year. Again, sample size obviously plays into that at the end of the day.
Right.
But if you want to break it down even farther to the 95 that Levine Family Racing had, and even the 21 with Wood Brothers, he's done better than the current drivers that took those spots technically. So, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for him. I think this is a really good chance for him to try and rebuild himself in a big way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself.
I think this will be interesting to see how it goes for him, because we have to remember that it's probably not the best equipment. So right out of the gate, we can't expect anything spectacular out of him.
Right.
And again, he still has never won an Xfinity race. He got his first truck win at Talladega. But we're not expecting the world out of this guy, but we're expecting to see him gradually make this team better. Because again, I had my opinions of De Benedetto, but Ben has a great point, and it's that he leaves teams in really good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And when he does leave, you kind of see, wow, maybe he was a lot better than we gave him credit for, because the guy that's replacing him isn't that good. I'm interested to see how this all works out. It is kind of confusing. But
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see with him. But again, this is a guy that's been around the sport for a long time, so it's good to have that face back at the garage.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And for what this means for Matt in the future in this team, and that's not totally clear if he's going to be filling in the rest of their schedule for the season or what that looks like. So we'll keep you updated, of course, at TobyChristie.com and when we do our lives every Thursday and sometimes Wednesday. So just stay tuned for that. But that's the news on Matt De Benedetto. I did want to pull up the correct point standings here. Just so you all know, of course, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, and William Byron and Daniel Suarez we have had 5 different winners for 5 races. So I love to see that, all the parity there. But then the point standings shifted a little bit around that cutoff line. Obviously, it's still very early in the season, so of course things are going to shift. Notice here, Noah Gragson, he sits, 36?
He sits 32nd.
Yeah, 32nd, 33rd in points, somewhere in there. My eyes, I can't read it right now, but like notice where those who have the penalties are sitting in the point standings, everything in between. Just very interesting to follow up with. I'm sure after COTA, things are going to change drastically as well. I mean, it's road course, so going to favor some people. It's not going to favor others. So we'll see after that race kind of how things shake out, but always important to look at the point standings. Also, appreciate Ken for the comments. Loving the show. We appreciate everyone who supports the show here. Let's move on to some other news regarding Bowman Gray. NASCAR acquires Winston-Salem Speedway Incorporated, managing operations at Bowman Gray. A big deal right off the bat. This deal lasts for quite some time. I don't know if you guys had initial thoughts on this, and I know in the comments someone had mentioned what our thoughts are about this whole deal, so we'll kind of share them here.
Clash 2025.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, no, that's
this kind of shocked me from what I could tell, and shocked a lot of people. This kind of was a surprising thing that came out.
Yeah.
Bowman Gray obviously has a huge history side when it comes to the sport. A lot of famous winners, famous races. Infamously, Bobby Allison and his one win that never counted but should count came there as well. And even then, it's continued on as one of the more relevant racetracks in the South compared to like a Hickory and a Florence and a South Boston and stuff like that. Interesting to see NASCAR step in. I talked about this with a few people of like, we've seen Dale Earnhardt Jr. step in to several tracks and do this. Kevin Harvick did it with Kern County, and Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway or whatever the name is now. A lot of K's. I don't know.
Yeah.
Kevin Harvick's Kern County Raceway.
It's something like that. It's a lot of k-k-k's, but essentially, like we've seen this happen a lot. But it's interesting that NASCAR has stepped in to do this. My mind went to Clash 2025 as well. It also kind of opens up, I feel like, more of a door for maybe trucks to go there and maybe Arc East to go back or something like that. I don't know exactly.
Right.
I will say I think people are overreacting to this on both ends of the spectrum. I've seen people saying they're going to save Bowman Gray from the demolition derbies and the fighting and the knockout brawls that it is. And I've seen people say they're going to ruin Bowman Gray because they're taking that stuff away. So I've seen a lot of duality on both sides of that coin. I feel very much a situation of let's just set back and see what they do first before anything happens. It could be a great opportunity. My only last point is I really want to see more of this throughout the country. I had a discussion with someone that Toby and I know very well, and I made the point of I would love to see this grow throughout the country, essentially. So not even necessarily NASCAR, but like the example I made was I would love it if the Waltrips came back and supported Kentucky Motor Speedway. That's in Owensboro, where they grew up and raced, or the Fairgrounds in Nashville, or to kind of throw Rob a bone, I'd love to see Martin Truex Jr. go support Thompson or Monadnock in the modifieds and, give money to it's one of those, I would love to see this grow more and more. So
I agree. Dom?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think what came of this with NASCAR getting involved into this, because I agree with Ben that it's one thing for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and a bunch of shareholders coming together. It's like, hey, let's try to bring this place back. We're all on the same page here. We're all interested. Let's try. I think it's interesting. NASCAR itself got involved here, and I think it's because of how well the North Wilkesboro Speedway resurrection went and how good the Nashville Fairgrounds resurrection is going. And Rockingham could be in the pipeline of maybe being next. And I think NASCAR wanted to jump in on, if we're bringing back racetracks that everyone loves and is willing to buy tickets to come see it come back again, we want to get in on this. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I remember growing up watching some K&N races at Bowman Gray on Speed Channel. So, I'm pretty sure I watched Ben Kennedy win a Hall of Fame race at Bowman Gray. And I remember Kenzie Rustin was in that race, Daniel Hemrick's wife. She was in that race running K&N East. Yeah, so it's crazy stuff like that. I remember a lot of great names have raced there. Larson, William Byron, Corey LaJoy, Bubba Wallace, Chase Elliott, that they've all done time on that racetrack. So again, it's like, it's not just a very, very historic track. Like, it's been around, just, now that ARCA East doesn't go there. It's very heavy. What modifieds now run there, late model kind of stuff run there now. So it's like, it's got to be stuff that you are true to your roots, always watch. Well, true to your regional now, I should say. You should be
on brand.
You always go to the late model races. You always go to the modified races, or it's just, you're a Bowman Gray lifer. If there's a race at Bowman Gray, I'm going. So this is really cool to see. But there's a lot of different things they can do here. I just think it's such a narrow racetrack. Hopefully they can find a way to widen it out. Maybe. It's just like, I don't know, without messing with the history of the track. It's tough.
See, that's why I think about the All-Star Race 4, because it's a smaller field size. It's a narrow track. That's what makes sense to kick things off until, if NASCAR wants to change the track, whatever, which I hope they don't, then there's that. I do know, I saw like everyone talking online, like, this is awesome. I also saw the other side of things where everyone's like, oh, like corporate NASCAR jumping in, whatever. Like, I think this is overall a positive thing, to be real with you all. I think, trying to revitalize and revive and restore any word you want to use these short tracks across America, brings back some of the grassroots racing. It brings attention to them. And it's a positive thing overall. So I'm excited. I agree with Ben. It's sit back and let's watch how this goes. Like, let's not be critical. It's overall a positive thing, and, excited to support it with whatever this means in the future. So, again, we'll see.
one more point I was going to say, I think about when, and I think Ben can agree with this, when they brought Eldora back for the truck series, the one great thing about that was, especially for me who knew nothing about Eldora, even though I'm from Ohio, I didn't even know Eldora was a thing. But because of that truck race there, they spent so much time talking about how special a racetrack it really is and what happens when NASCAR isn't making its return to dirt and whatnot, like how historic Eldora is. And after that, I was like, man, not only was that a good race, Eldora has crazy history. That's so cool. I didn't even know that. So that's another great thing that could come out of this. A lot of people that don't know about Bowman Gray get to learn about Bowman Gray.
And that was me with North Wilkesboro too. I mean, just because I wasn't alive when they were racing there, and I never watched a race there like on classics or whatever. So having it come back last year was a learning thing for me, and it was really cool. And now I totally appreciate and understand the history with it. So this is kind of the same thing too, which I think is really important. Any other NASCAR news that I didn't mention? I kind of talked about the big stories here, but any other NASCAR news that you want to mention? I know ARCA East, Presley Sora, ARCA East debut at Pensacola. I did want to mention that first because I think that's pretty rad. Another sim to pro type of story here. So really happy for him and wishing him luck with his debut. I also know Hellman's extended their junior motorsports relationship, sponsoring Allgaier and Earnhardt this year, and Earnhardt with his race in the fall at Bristol. This is a sponsorship deal through 2026. So I do have that. I didn't know from the ARCA side of things, any other motorsports related news that y'all wanted to bring up before we preview COTA?
One thing I want to add to the Bowman Gray conversation that I think is kind of interesting too is comparing this to Eldora and the Wilkesboro is you don't really have to do a lot of work
Right.
with this track. This track regularly hosts a ton of people on a weeknight or a weekend race in the summer. So this is very much a situation of we could easily plug and play to this at a moment's notice. I don't know. We obviously know like the contract situation it's pretty more open for the Cup Series, but definitely we could easily see some stuff being moved around where it's in the schedules on 2025, no matter what. And I think this is overall just a net positive. I mean, it's one of those things for the teams. It's another close race. It's like an hour away from Charlotte. So
I was going to say that's the big plus is don't got to worry about travel. Everyone is like, yeah, it's for RCR. It's like, it's 20 minutes up the road. For the teams down here in Charlotte, it's an hour up the road. So that is not bad. That is not bad. All the drivers will be willing to do it.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and Adam put it out in chat. Connor Zilic continues to sign contracts like there's no tomorrow, and I love it. This man, I'm not going to use the word, but I used the word to describe him earlier this week when it comes to sign contracts, and it's insane what he's doing and what he does and how much he loves racing. He's 2 for 2 in IMSA right now. He's been on the podium for both of his races. He's doing some track house stuff and some colleague stuff, and now he's doing this. I think it's going to be interesting to see him do COTA and then fly out to ARCA East at Five Flags. Former driver for that car, what am I getting his name? Luke Fenhouse is going to practice and qualify the car. He'll hop in for the actual race itself. So keep an eye on him and his story on Saturday. The kid's a wheel man, and I love it, and I'm here for it. So,
yeah, if you don't know who Connor is at this point, you should look him up. He's going to be very relevant, and he is already relevant. Yeah, no, he's busy right now behind the wheel. So no, very cool. Like, yeah, I mean, everybody's racing this weekend at COTA. Very excited about that. It's going to be busy.
It's gonna be a busy race weekend because F1 and IndyCar are racing this weekend as well.
Right,
we're back, baby.
No one's gonna be leaving their TVs.
We back up.
And I mean, with F1, good grief, green flags at midnight on Sunday.
I hate that.
Saturday going into it's Australia. They can't help it.
I know. I just for like me personally being selfish, I don't like that. But that's just
you can watch practice tonight. It's at like 9:30 or something like that. Tune in for FP1.
Fair.
Really, I mean that and qualifying is the really competitive stuff for the weekend.
Yeah.
Everything else is
I won't say it. That's fine. Oh, you'll say it. You got it. I was like, you're gonna make my point for me in a more respectful way.
I will say one thing that came out of F1 today. Obviously, I'll be very quick on this because this has nothing to do with our show. but the FIA president, which is the governing body of F1, got basically acquitted of all wrongdoing in his stuff. So apparently he was like interfering on race officiating, I should say. But one great quote that came out of it was they asked Lewis Hamilton if he still has his confidence, if the president still has Lewis's confidence that he can do a good job, and Lewis said he never had it.
We love spice here at ATYL.
That's when you show the dog with the battle scene in the background. Abu Dhabi 2021. Yeah.
First off, love Lewis Hamilton. What a king. Love him. Says it as
yes, Alanis King is spotting for Brad Perez.
That's the real highlight of this weekend.
So excited. Yeah.
Her and her husband are, I think, which is crazy.
Did you see her resume?
Yes.
Oh my god.
The references were the best part. I was cackling at work.
She is the best. She is the absolute best.
If you guys haven't seen our episode that we did with Alanis back in December, also Taylor Swift's song back in December, sorry. But it was such a fun episode. I'm trying to find her photo of her resume. Hold on. But she's at the track. She's doing like podcasting this weekend at the track. She has a really cool setup. Hold on. Okay, I'm sharing this. Hold on. Because you guys have to see this. If you don't follow Alanis, follow her, please. Do me a favor. Like
probably the best follow on automotive Twitter or racing Twitter, whatever you call it.
You look at this. I know it's kind of small. It's hard to see. Let me.
Chris Angel mind.
Profile. Experience lifeguard. Silva instructor.
My
rider,
mom, no relation.
Show Bob's is probably my favorite name. And it's cloth. It's not clothes. It's cloth.
It's fun. The grammatical errors from some people making those comments are
redacted.
Yeah, this is incredible. No,
this is
what I love about Alana. She brings the humor, and she does such a darn good job, but she also is able to have fun with it.
Oh my gosh!
We need more people that take themselves less seriously.
I was talking to Monica Palumbo at
I love Monica
at Phoenix,
her podcast,
because her and Alanis do a podcast together, and Monica was like, yeah, she's quite the ball of energy, and I love it. I was like, yeah, she is the best.
Yeah, shameless plug. Mics are hot on Racing America. Make sure to check that out. That's Monica Palumbo and Alanis King. Do a really good job there, so make sure to check them out. Dom, we good? We're gonna do this. Top 10. It's that time.
Yes. One thing I want to emphasize on this, this is the best way to put it is this is in terms of likeliest to win the race. So where if your favorite driver's 7th, I don't say he's finishing 7th in the race. I think he's the 7th most likely to win the race.
Their predictions.
Yes. And again, I know we have a lot of all-star drivers in this race. I only look at the stats of the guys that are in a chartered car running the full schedule. So if they're racing for points, they're in the top 10 projections. So we can go ahead and go now.
Here we are.
All right. So, I mean, obviously the numbers scream Tyler Reddick. He's the defending winner of this race, and I'm just pulling up his stats right now, so I have him in front of me. He has an average finish of 5th. That's pretty good. An average start of 2.3. So he has started no worse than 4th at Circuit of the Americas. That's obviously why he is so high up there. I will say Chase Elliott fans should not expect Chase Elliott to be finishing around 9th. The only reason why he's down that low in this top 10 is because he didn't race COTA last year. So the lack of the numbers from last year's race is what hurts him against the overall with everybody else. But he has by far and away the best average finish of anyone. Average finish of 2.5, 1st and 4th in his 2 starts at Circuit of the Americas. He doesn't start as well, though. 8th and 12th, still top 15. That's fantastic. So, but again, if you're comparing him to Reddick, you can expect Reddick to, if he's not on pole, he's going to be in the top 5 for sure. William Byron's up there. And, Byron had a great road course season last year. Won at Watkins Glen. If AJ Allmendinger wasn't in that 16, he would have won the Roval last year too. So it's the perks of driving a Hendrick car if you see the top 10 here, because Alex Bowman's in there as well. And credit where credit's due. Bowman's got great numbers at COTA. Now remember, he did run COTA last year before his injury, which I was trying to remember if that happened before COTA or after, but it happened after COTA. So his starts are 12th, 5th, and 6th, and he finishes 8th, 2nd, and 3rd. Average finish of 4.3. That is really good for 3 starts at COTA. So credit where credit's due. Bowman has a really good shot to win this weekend, and I know that never ever comes out of my mouth, but it's the truth. He could do it this weekend.
And I will say with Alex Bowman, I think we discount how good of a road course racer he is. He is incredibly good at the Roval as well. I mean, so he has a shot this weekend. I had to say that to all y'all who doubt Bowman. I know we've been on the train of Bowman doesn't have the best stats right now. This is his chance. Also had a pretty good result this past weekend. So
and
continue.
He was in no worries. He was in business in 2022 to win it, but got chastained. Speaking of which, I have him finishing 3rd. That is first career win at COTA. So obviously he's going to be up there because he's one of 3 people that's won at COTA. I fully expected all 3 of them to be in there, even though Chase didn't have a 3rd start. But Chastain's numbers are also brilliant. If I pull them up here, average finish of 3rd. Yeah, that's also really good. 4th, 1st, and 4th are his finishes at COTA. We're seeing very familiar faces finishing up in that top 5, top 10 over and over again.
Yes.
So you can pretty much rely on these numbers. Austin Cindric is a phenomenal road course racer. Remember, he has a background of sports car racing. He's very comfortable on these racetracks. His finishes had a bad one in 2021 or 2022, 25th, but had a 8th and a 6th. So he does have 3 starts there. So yeah, 25th, 8th, and 6th in his 3 starts at Circuit of the Americas. Kyle Busch is up there. He's an underrated road course racer, I feel like. He's got a couple. He's got a couple of them. He's won at Watkins Glen and Sonoma, but he's just a consistent finisher. He finished in 2nd last year, so expect him to be very good. Kyle Larson's good wherever he goes. The defending champion, Ryan Blaney, I have him in 10th. 17th, 6th, and 21st are his finishes, so not the best, but he does have a pole position, so he can be fast if Penske gives him really good equipment. Logano, I have an 8th. I think a lot of that came from 2021. He did lead a lot of laps in that race before Chase Elliott took the victory, but after that, 3rd, 31st, and 28th are his finishes, so I kind of attest that to the bad weather may have helped him a little bit. So, and the way he's been running this year, I really don't see him winning this race, but Penske has proven me wrong many, many a times. I saw someone ask about Chris Buescher.
I was going to ask you this too.
Yeah, no Buescher. I have him listed 19th, and the reason why is his average start is 27.3. His average finish is 14th. His best starting spot is 22nd. His best finish is 8th. And I don't even think he's led. Yeah, he's only led 1 lap there, but he's completed all the laps, so I'll give him that. But I have him down in 19th. Another one, Ty Gibbs, while he only has 1 start and got a top 10, expect him to be up there as well. He's been on fire recently, and he's a very good road course racer as well. His first career Xfinity win came on the Daytona road course. Expect him to be up there as well. Just the numbers, there's not enough of them for him to be up there in the top 10 with the rest of those guys. But that's the top 10. The odds-on favorite is Reddick, but I would say the numbers aren't kind to Chase Elliott, but that shouldn't steer you away from Chase Elliott. I think it's going to come down to either him or Chase for the win.
Yeah, it'll be a fun race to watch. I personally love Circuit of the Americas. I think it's a really fun track. I know the first year that we went there, it was rain galore. It didn't show what the track was capable of for NASCAR, but I think it's a really fun track and excited to see cars back this weekend.
I will say one more thing. I did want to mention this. I knew I was missing one thing, and it's Daniel Suarez.
That's a good one.
Daniel Suarez is a phenomenal qualifier for COTA, but is a horrible racer at COTA. His average start is 6.3. His average finish is 28th.
He just gets caught
That's
in calamity
quite
mode.
the swing. That's not the kind of swing you want. So
And McDowell
beware
as well.
Suarez.
This is another driver that I think we could be on the lookout for.
I've got McDowell in 14th, and I think it's again because he's not a good qualifier. It's actually the opposite of Suarez. Not a good qualifier. 23.3 is his average, but has an average finish of 10.7.
Mhm.
So he improves on his qualifying position and is a good road courser. Obviously, Indianapolis last year, but I've got him 14th. I think he's going to do better than that, but again, it's that qualifying position hurt him.
Mhm. And I will say too, like I'm going to be looking for. I see comments about Chris Buescher in here, driver by diabetes awareness. Talking about Chris Buescher is your favorite. I have merchandise of all drivers in my background here. I have a lot of Chris and RFK and everyone in between. But I'm looking for him to do well. He has shown that he can be really competitive on road courses. It's just a matter of, getting that program where it needs to be on the road courses. Also, too, I mean, you mentioned earlier, but Austin Cindric, this is a good weekend for him to kind of turn things around. He started off the season on a good note with Daytona, Atlanta, and I think he needs to show what he's capable of here. I actually talked to Keaston France, one of the tire changers for Austin Cindric, yesterday. And he was talking about, they feel good about their chances. They're ready to go. So should be a good weekend for the number 2 team. But yeah, that is your top 10. Again, these are your projected, their predictions. They're not concrete. This is based on prior stats, etc. And then, of course, too, we got to talk about, Adam brought this up in the comments, SVG, these drivers that aren't our full-time, but are kind of the all-star, Kamui Kobayashi, for instance, in the number 50.
Oh
So
boy.
I am stoked about that too. So how do we feel like they're going to do in this race? Do we feel like one of them has the potential to win? Obviously, we've seen SVG win at Chicago. That was a new track to everybody at that point, still trying to figure out what these cars were kind of like. So how do we feel that they compare to the rest of the field, given their experience at road courses?
Ben,
Ben,
or do you want me to
you're
go
thinking.
You want me to go first?
I can go. I think SVG, if you want to compare those two, Kobayashi and SVG, I think SVG's got a better shot to win overall.
I agree.
I feel like this course style is somewhat similar to Chicago, fast sections with a lot of tight and technical points of it, just like Chicago was. As for Kobayashi, I feel like he's just here for vibes and have fun. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. So I'm all about that. But I definitely think SVG could upset the field, so to speak. I mean, they did it kind of last year, colleague that is, with Dinger at the Roval. They were kind of irrelevant for most of the year.
Cool win,
and they showed up, and Dinger goes out and does what Adrian Dinger does best, which is blow the doors off of everyone. I could see SVG doing it this weekend, but that's just me.
Yeah, I think what I worry about for SVG is the pressure, because he's only got one Cup start and it's a win. So I just don't want that pressure to be on him to do the same thing, because we don't expect him to do the same thing. I know there's a lot of fans out there that are like, he's going to go 2 for 2 if he doesn't win. What does that say about him? Was it a fluke in Chicago? First of all, no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Second of all, it's an entirely different track. It's going to be entirely different conditions. I just don't want him to put that kind of pressure on himself to go out there and repeat. Just go, like Ben said, just go have fun.
Yeah.
You're racing for points in Xfinity. You can have fun in a Cup car. Who could say that?
And by the way, he's doing great in Xfinity too.
Yes,
FYI.
Correction. SVG actually has 2 Cup starts.
Yeah, 2 starts.
Where else did he race?
He ran the Indy Grand Prix, or the Indy Road Course last year. He finished 10th. Yes.
Yeah.
He was very forgettable for most of that race.
Yes.
So.
Don't remember that. Okay, well then there's no pressure. Go race.
I was about to look that up, and then I saw you type, and I'm like, that's exactly what he's doing.
I was like, I feel like I remember him somewhere else, but I couldn't remember.
So we have the highs and the lows of SVG, in a Cup car and his performance. So, I mean, I agree, just go out there, have fun, use what you learn in Xfinity to race well in Cup. So that's always a good starting point there. Any other notable starters, in Xfinity? Jimmy Johnson is not in this race. I don't think so.
I was just curious because he ran it last year. I didn't know if he was doing it again.
He barely ran it last year.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Timmy Hill's back in this race for
Timmy
NBM
Hill's
Motorsports.
2011 Nationwide Rookie of the Year, Timmy
Our
Hill.
boy. And iRacing Invitational winner at Texas, Timmy Hill.
Yes.
If you
They
want
made
to get
a race
really
version
deep,
of that.
I sold it on eBay.
Nice.
Let's see. Kobayashi and SVG are the two really big standouts when it comes to road course ringers on the entry list, really.
Yeah.
Another
The
big
rest is
name
kind of
to
just-
not expect to do well, Brad Keselowski. He has awful numbers there.
He has generally road courses for Brad are not great, and it breaks my heart, but he's just not.
Listen, I think it was like 3 straight years he knocked on the door at Watkins Glen and couldn't do it, but was like
Yeah.
right there, but never won that race. And I felt so bad. Like 2012, obviously that one could have gone either way. So it's like you can't say that was Brad's race to win or that was Marco. That was a dead heat between those two. And then 13, Kyle Busch just played great defense against him. But
I just want to see
I
Brad
felt bad
win.
that it was back-to-back years that he had to finish second.
That's so hurtful. But I do think Brad will get a win this year. It's just a matter of when. I'm going to speak that into existence because it has to happen.
We've been doing this for, 103 races now?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Painful, but it's fine. It's whatever. It's cool. But no, so excited to see, what all goes down this weekend. Again, a full weekend of racing, Truck Xfinity Cup, gonna be a good one. So make sure to tune in for all the action all weekend long. Make sure, of course, to check us out on social media for all your NASCAR news. Go to tobychristie.com. We'll keep you updated during the week. And of course, AboveTheYellowLine.com, we have merchandise. This hat right here on sale on our website. Had a few sales about this week, actually, which is pretty cool. So make sure to get your hat, wear them at the racetrack. Really fun to wear at like Talladega and stuff because, the rules. So keep that in mind. And then, of course, we have our Above the Yellow Line episode. God.
There it is.
There it is. I never get through one outro without either messing up or... Hold on.
It's just a reminder. It's not it's a reminder. Just a reminder.
Our friend, not your friend, our friend.
They're our friends. Spiders are our friends. And maybe we'll talk more. You know what, Dom? I should give you your own individual segment just to talk about spiders for 2 minutes next week.
2 minutes? I don't need that long.
Do you just need 30 seconds?
Just be nice to spiders. They do more for you than you think. That's all.
So this quickly turned into a spider PSA.
They're just our friends. I don't know what more you need. They're our friends.
So
don't be afraid
go out
of them.
there. If you don't watch the racing this weekend, at least support the spiders out there, okay?
Support your local spider wherever it's at. In the shower, in your bathroom, or wherever.
Reach out to your local spider.
Reach out to your local spider. Watch the Spider-Man movies. I feel like that's supporting them as well, Just awesome. Spider awareness. Spiders are friends, not food.
Spiders are friends, not food.
Spiders are friends. I guess with that said, go to AboveTheYellowLine.com. Check us out on social media. We'll talk more about spiders over there, I am sure. And we'll catch you all next week with a full episode of Above the Yellow Line, recapping everything from Circuit of the Americas. And, of course, with our live stream next Wednesday. It'll be on a Wednesday next week. And then I'll be at Richmond. So see you guys in 2 weeks. But and Dom will be at Richmond, too. So
yes, I will.
Anywho, that does it from
They'll
us.
be at his house.
Above the Yellow Line. Thank you all so much for joining us. And another thank you to Lacy Kuehl for joining us on the show. We'll have her full interview out on podcasting platforms. So if you want to listen back to it, if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, you can. All her links will also be in the description of this video a few moments after we end this live. But thank you all so much again for supporting us. Make sure to share this stream. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, all those fun things that you say on YouTube and other social media platforms. And until next time, we'll see you.